Get started. It's 1:31, and we, as I said, co-chair Bob, Sandy Fortin, Mark Sobczak, and Mike Summer are absent. We have Rhiannon, our booster, and from Gouldsboro, Josh Mansfield, and Tom Lloyd, and myself, Roy Gott, present. Do we want to approve the minutes from last time, or do we want to wait until we have more of the committee here? Generally, I like to have a quorum. This is about half of
Yeah,
us.
don't we require a quorum?
I don't know that we have specific requirements, but I would say let's just.
Gouldsboro has them.
Yes, yes.
Gouldsboro requires a quorum.
Gouldsboro definitely does. We have 5 of 9, which is, that's counting Rhiannon, which.
Isn't that, what is it, 2/3?
It really depends on the organization. We've never established anything for ourselves. So
Okay.
I say we just wait until next time to approve the minutes, but did everybody get a chance to review them that wanted to? Okay. If you see, did you see anything in there, Josh, that you had questions or comments on?
Nope, all straightforward. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll defer minutes to next time. Updates on action steps from prior meeting. The only thing I think we'll get to most of that information from later on in other agenda items. So I don't think we have anything for here. Gouldsboro report, do we have anything for that?
I think we're done with surveys. I think I took the last one that I think I'm going to take yesterday, and Rhiannon got them today.
Okay.
So, I mean, at some point we have to turn it off.
Right. Well,
right?
I think we said this,
the data.
I think we said this would be our cutoff for the Gouldsboro survey data. So go ahead, Rhiannon.
I went around to businesses and collected the drop boxes today as well before I picked up the rest of the surveys from the town office, and all of the paper physical responses I've collected entered into the Google Forms, and I have a report for when we do the survey report later.
Wonderful. Was there
Yay.
much, how many were in the boxes, would you say?
I have entered a total of about 45, I think, and I have 100 responses in total.
Okay. And when you most recently collected, that was which day?
Today.
Today. I was just wondering if you've seen a drop off. Okay. So yeah, well, we'll look at that data certainly today. And Winter Harbor survey, Sandy did provide something of an update. She asked me to summarize. The Winter Harbor Comprehensive Planning Committee closed their window for their surveys, and looking at the numbers in there, it seems that the Winter Harbor community wants virtual access to meetings at least, and better access to the internet. And so she plans on resubmitting a grant to the selectmen in Winter Harbor, since they said they would reconsider filing the grant application once they heard from the community through the comp plan survey results. So this is not to supplant or change the work that we're doing. This could be just as simply to expand access to town meetings and other functions there, but it may also tie in with the work we're doing as well. So
I was just concerned because when we filed the grant application, one of the discussions that I had with Connect Maine in the very beginning is that they wanted the two communities to collaborate and to work together on this. And so, you know, and our Island Institute person for next year is contingent upon us working together. And as usual, Winter Harbor's taken off in another direction. So,
well, and like she says, I don't think it's really a different direction, but I think it's supplemental. I think especially the piece about incorporating, because they don't have any Zoom capability, any remote meeting capability at the town office right now. They've stayed away from that. And I think that's the part that she's really focusing on. But yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't think she's planning on supplanting the work that we're doing for the broadband expansion. But that's a reasonable concern. So we'll just keep that on there, and I think next meeting Sandy can tell us a little bit more about it, but that's something she asked to report from the Winter Harbor side of things. And I've been trying to reach the town office today and last Friday to get some information from them and to work on sending out the Winter Harbor survey, which hopefully will go out and come back pretty quickly. But I did send that out in the mailing for the agenda with all the other materials. So I'm just going to share this really quickly so we can have a glance at it. And this will be good for maybe Dawn to see as well. So this is the version for Winter Harbor. As it stands right now, I've removed any reference to other businesses to return them to, and just left it as the town office. But I don't know, Rhiannon, if you think there's a business in Winter Harbor that we should reach out to that people could also return the surveys to? Anything come to mind?
Well, there might be a couple, but just based on the numbers of surveys that were returned to businesses versus the town office for the Gouldsboro survey, I feel like it might not be worth going to all the trouble.
Right. Because if they have
But
this
the
similar
Winter
hour,
Harbor town office is closed all the time.
do you think the food service would be a logical place?
Yeah, I think that would work, especially Anne makes a good point because the Winter Harbor town
And
office
IGA.
is closed a lot.
IGA might let you have a box there.
Yeah.
They're open a lot, or
Would you want,
regularly, I should say.
Rhiannon, would you like to reach out to them, see if they'd be amenable to that?
Was
I didn't quite hear that, but
Oh, sorry, I can do that.
okay, wonderful. So any case, just briefly, this is the same format. I did rearrange this a little bit based on feedback from how newsletters go out. This is how Winter Harbor sends out their survey. So I figured we should, or their newsletter. So it's got the indicia for the mailing, and that just pushes everything back down here. So otherwise, it's identical to the Gouldsboro survey. Any questions? Okay. So survey data updates, Rhiannon.
Okay. So, like I said, right now on my Google form where I've entered all the data from the physical responses I've collected, I have 100 responses, which I rounded up the number that was sent out in Gouldsboro to 1,200. So that makes it an 8.3% return rate right now. 92% of those of respondents currently have internet access of some kind. 54.3 of them have DSL, and most of them specified that is through Consolidated. 30.1% have cable, and most of it is Spectrum. 8.4% have satellite, either Starlink or HughesNet. and 7.2% use hotspot. Um, respondents primarily use their internet for web browsing, email, and streaming, and 52.8% of respondents find their current internet service inadequate. And their up and download speeds, everyone's up and download speeds are less than has been advertised to them by their ISP. 8% of respondents don't have internet access, but 100% of those who responded to the question asking if it would be useful to them said that yes, they would want it. The main obstacle in those respondents that don't have internet access, getting internet access, is availability. And overall, 94.7% of respondents would be interested in creating a municipally owned internet service.
Nice.
I don't think any of that is surprising to anybody on this meeting.
Nope.
But it's good to have the data to back up our expectations. So is that something, Rhiannon, would you be able to put together a document that just has the results and then email that to the group?
Yeah, absolutely. I can work up like a proper document of what I have written down here. And some of the data on the responses, like the up and download speeds, are compiled in a really, I don't know what's the way to put this, not a really user-friendly way, maybe. So I'll try to make that a little bit more concise, maybe.
Okay.
They could pick an average. Would it still be meaningful as an average?
An average really wouldn't be that
Aren't they
particular.
pretty close together?
Well, it depends on which service you use and what you might be rated for. So if you're paying for Spectrum and you're supposed to be getting 45 or 50 megabits and you're getting 33, averaging that with somebody who's DSL and rated for 3 megabits isn't really going to give you too much.
Well, I was thinking for our use.
But again,
I don't know, whatever.
It's apples and oranges, unfortunately. But I mean, it doesn't even need to, I would say if you don't even have to put a lot of work into cleaning that up, you could just provide the raw data and then we could look at that. The only way it would make sense is if it was grouped with the types of service, at least.
That's true.
So all the Spectrum data together, all of the consolidated data together, that would be without doing too much work, because I don't want to pile too much on you. But that would be great if you could type up that document, Rhiannon. So that's survey data. Information gathering. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look over the responses from Dan Sullivan about the DBU model, the additional questions that we provided. Did anybody not get a chance to look at that on the committee? Okay. Anybody have any thoughts based on those responses? Tom, I know you had a couple of those questions. Most of them were me, but. Okay.
Oop.
I did ask of, oh,
I'm,
go ahead, Tom.
after looking at the responses and everything, why are we dragging our feet as to trying to move forward with, I mean, putting in the an actual application based on that middle mile that we're talking about from their closest location to us? Is that something that's just not in anybody else's wheelhouse? I mean, are we?
When you say they, you mean DBU?
Exactly.
I do not know what towns they're looking at bringing on right now. I know in our meeting with him, he said, Dan said they weren't they weren't quite ready to reach out this far. That was
Yeah, I
his
mean-
initial response. But he does say now that they are working with non-contiguous towns. And the key thing, it's not to reach them directly. We have to be connected to the three-ring binder, which, I supplied that graphic of the map of the three-ring binder in our area, and it is right along Route 1.
Right.
Runs from Hancock up through Franklin, back down to Sullivan, then follows Route 1 to Steuben and beyond. So I don't know if there's a particular obstacle or they're just internally trying to grow close by and at what they feel is a comfortable pace. I think that's another question that we can ask Dan, is what would be the obstacle to bringing our towns on board if we decided we wanted to join with them. So certainly we can.
I thought he answered that when we first talked to him,
I don't
that
think
it
he
was
said,
strictly geographical.
well, yeah, it is geographical.
I mean,
But-
they'd have to come down through Steuben and Millbridge and,
But they don't have to come anywhere. All they have to do is have a central office that ties into the three-ring binder. And that could
Okay.
be located up on Route 1 in Gouldsboro. There'd be, and you'd probably only need one. One of the questions I just asked as a follow-up was, what were the needs for their central office? And he said they bought a couple of telecom huts, is the word that he used, from someplace out west. They were used, they were nothing new, and they just dropped them in. They include HVAC so that it can keep cool. And they bought two for each town, though in retrospect, he said they could have gotten away with one for each town originally, because fiber will run 60 miles before it needs regeneration of the signal. So probably all you would need to do to cover Schoodic Peninsula would be to locate a facility like that. He said it exists on town land. I think up on Route 1 might not be something that Gouldsboro, maybe the DOT.
we have the DOT lot and the DOT building. There's buildings there.
Yeah, I mean, then
I bet they would do that.
that's a possibility, certainly for Gouldsboro. The only thing that I would wonder about that is location-wise, if it makes more sense to find a more central location. You definitely want to be as central as possible. On the other hand, if we could entice Steuben, for example, to join in on this, the DOT lot might make a lot of sense,
Right.
because then you might get three towns on one CO. And but that's a discussion for a later time. I think, we can reach out again to Dan, just a follow-up question to see what's the obstacle to DBU taking in our towns, if that's the direction we want to go. And we can
If I can get some focus, like some direction on where you would need it to be. The town owns a lot of land in the town.
Okay,
So that possibility, don't rule it out that we don't have something that would work
well,
in terms of the land that we own.
let me pull up that map real quick here. Just and then we can just look at it as a group, and we can dream. Share. So this is the map that I sent. And obviously Gouldsboro's portion of the three ring binder is actually pretty small. It's from right about, that's about Asheville Road there, I think. So somewhere around here over to right after Gouldsboro Point Road. So we've got this stretch to consider. DOT lot is somewhere up in this neighborhood, wouldn't you say, Ann?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's West Bay? Is that right?
This is
That
West
first
Bay.
drop down? Okay. That's West Bay?
That's West Bay. Because here's Korea Road, Grand Marsh
Okay.
Bay. So this is West Bay. Here's Pond Road. You know,
And don't forget, we also have South Gould, or Gouldsboro Point over there, almost to Steuben.
so, I mean, DOT lot might not be a bad fit for Gouldsboro in general. It'll be a little bit longer for Winter Harbor, but you know, I think it's probably a matter of, you know, coming out of somewhere and running fiber down each one of these main roads and over here on Gouldsboro Point and just sort of branching off from there. I don't know the technical details of how you do that, but I'm sure that the installers could give a lot of information. That was an additional thought I had as well, was maybe we should reach out to Pioneer, which did the installation for Down East Broadband, to see what insights they might have,
Okay.
because they've done it. So. Just
Yeah, I
gonna make-
wouldn't worry about Gouldsboro not coughing up locations, because we will. I mean, our town wants it badly, especially places like Korea, and they're out in the dark. They're in the dead zone.
Yeah, just to
I hear
interject
it.
real quick. I was over at West Bay Campground, a gentleman by the name of Rob. He's off
Yeah.
of Rainbow's End Road, and he has
Yeah, Rob Lawton.
Yeah, he has fiber in there, so he must
Yeah.
have been able to bring it down off of Route 1.
Now we're just about to we just got fiber here at the town office. Roy, you know that.
I know that.
So I just got off the phone with Consolidated, and the holes drilled, and like we're just waiting for whatever it is they're going to plug it into in here. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to go,
Mhm.
especially with the women's club, because that would be a huge game changer for us, for our town, if we have Wi-Fi over there. People
Yeah.
can use it.
And I'll just make a point though, the fiber services, one is the foundational piece, but then we have to put some of our own hardware on
Right.
there, to spread it out to the other buildings. But
Right.
that's doable, and probably with the
Right.
money the town will save by going to one internet service rather than having about 3 or 4.
Yeah,
uh,
we have 3.
it'll pay for itself eventually. Probably not too far in the future. Okay,
Not worried about it. We need it, so
so I'd
we
say
need it for the town.
if you want to think about other locations that might be available, I would think somewhere between 186 and 195 here. If there is
Okay.
any town land up there along Route 1, to
Hmm.
me, that's just more central, and it might be, if it's just it's just the peninsula, that would probably be the better place. But if we've got just.
So between the Pond Road and West Bay, or between West Bay and Clinic Road?
I would say between Pond and West Bay.
Okay.
I would err on the closer to Pond Road, if anything.
So something on Pond Road would be good too. I know we have stuff on Pond Road.
Well, I mean, you can keep that information in there. I'm not sure how close this needs to be to the 3-ring binder.
Yeah.
That would be one of those technical questions, but
Is that
would-
a Pioneer question?
that might be easiest to be a Pioneer question,
Okay.
because again, since they handle the installations for DBU, they probably know how to tie stuff together.
Yeah, that would be helpful to have just a recommendation, to say, get me something here, and then
mhm.
I can go get something.
So that is,
even-
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking out loud in my brain. So
Okay. So that's all I have on this particular piece. And I think you all know I'm much more excited about the prospect of municipal owned fiber than I am of going with an existing
vendor.
ISP.
Yeah.
But that being said, we did say we would do an RFI, and I'm sure if Bob were here today, he would want to push forward with that. And I think it is due diligence that we ask the existing ISPs what they can
Absolutely.
do for us. So just one of the things that I was looking at today was sort of the structure of an RFI. And so, basically there's a statement of need, because I haven't done one before. So I'm just going to review this. And on that note, I thought it would be worth considering. Eve gave me a number of 63 miles of town and state road in the
Yeah.
town of Gouldsboro. And that was the high end. So that's what I'm going with. But I think, for example, if you've got a development that's a private road, but you've got 20 or 30 houses down there,
Mhm.
I think it would be worth us including that mileage in this process. Because
Right.
otherwise you're leaving those people to come up with the cost to expand it. And I don't think that's necessarily the route we want to go. We want to be as inclusive as
No.
possible. So to me, I would include the private roads that have multiple people. Now, if it's just one of those E911 long driveway things with one person at the end,
Just to
that,
the end of the driveway.
well, no, like if you've got Podunk Lane and there is one person who owns property and lives at the end of it, and it's 2 miles long, and it's only a named road because of the length of it. To me, that's a driveway.
Right.
So we wouldn't run it down there. That would be part of the installation of then signing up for the customer as a customer with the ISP. Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
So I don't know what our threshold is, if it's 2 people on a road, 2 different property owners. I just think that's something we should be thinking about.
I think most of the installs include 1,500 feet or 1,200 to 1,500 feet off
Yep.
the main trunk to a
Right.
home. So
And anything above and beyond that was negotiated between the ISP and the customer, as I recall Dan said. And I think that's fine, but I just, like I said, if you've got a road that's got a few customers on it, I think we want to consider including that road in our process. So that may be going into drilling down in like E911 data that probably, I'm sure that probably would have been a Jim question before, right, Ann?
I mean, Jim's like my pal, so I can find out. Just let me know what you need to know, and I'll find out. I still talk to him every day, so.
Okay. That would probably be helpful just to get, I know we talked about mapping a lot earlier, and I still haven't seen anything concrete for maps, but
That's
if
what I want to do, a map. So I guess I'll have to do it myself, because to me that makes the most sense. Because then we can visually see what we're,
Yeah.
what we're doing.
if we could figure out where every house or occupiable building,
Right.
business or residence, and what road it's on, then we could probably go through and tick off which roads we need to include in our
I
process.
mean, I have property maps here, the big ones.
Yep.
I'm sure we could put something together. We have a book,
Yep.
And we're talking about, 12, 1,500 people that live here, so
Mhm.
that can't be that many houses.
So I don't know if that's something you want to take a stab at starting. I don't know.
I can start it, but I'm heading into
I need
another
help.
election season, so I'm going to need some help.
Is there an election coming up? I hadn't heard.
Yeah, November. Oh, silly. Aren't you running for president?
Not president, no. No. Okay, so we'll keep that on our radar, and we'll revisit that next time and see what we can come up with. But as far as RFI development, keeping on with that, statement of need, some information about the committee, specifications of the required service. I think we all pretty much agree we want to go with the federal updated definition, which is 100 megabits symmetrical. Is that, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see more nodding heads. So 100 megabits symmetrical, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. That's what we want to see. It did occur to me, and I mentioned this to Mike in another email, that I think it would be worth including the possibility for a higher level of service as well. So not that anything we'd be doing would be, if we build it ourselves, would be limiting, because the fiber is the fiber. But whereas DBU only offers the 100 megabit package, I was thinking it'd be good to have that as sort of a base offering. And then, for example, businesses or households that just really want more speed, if we could offer or look to offering a 1 gigabit package. As an example, Eastbrook, which has Fidium, has gigabit fiber for $70 a month for the first year, and it goes up to, I think, $95 the years after that. So, to me, if we're offering, with DBU, they do 100 megabits for $60 a month. I think it's not a far cry. I think if we could offer it for somewhere between 50 and 75 for 100, that if you double that for a gigabit, it's not a big ask. That's still cheaper than what a lot of people are paying for their bundled services. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there, that we might want to consider those 2 tiers.
So would that be asymmetrical for the gigabit as well?
I would expect any fiber offering we do should be symmetrical.
Yeah. That's a really good deal then.
I mean, Eastbrook is, I just looked, and they're now trying to offer 2 gigabit for basically twice the money. But I believe that's symmetrical service over there. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
so unless anybody's got any objections to that, I just feel like 100 is good for pretty much 98% of the people around here, but there might still be that 2% that need more. And I think if we can offer them a little bit more for a little bit higher cost. And again, that'll probably come down to who would be the internet providers that would be competing on the network. Tom? Oh, no, okay. So, so that was specifications of required service, a timeline for implementation. I think that's really key if we're looking at asking these internet providers to give us an idea of what they can do for us, that they could give us the timeline, because we don't want to be in a situation where, hey, we can do all of this for this small amount of money, and that's what end up deciding, and then they don't implement it for 5 years.
Well, we got to define all of this, to me.
Right.
So to me, it seems like next step is to get our mapping and get our arms around what the heck we're actually trying to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. The mapping. We can certainly move ahead in parallel with exploring the DBU expansion or doing it ourselves. We can do that as we're working on this other stuff with the RFI. And then,
I mean, even with DBU expansion, we're still looking at costs and RFPs, and we're still looking at that. It's not going to change, other than that administrative piece would be dealt with for us.
Right.
But we're basically hitching our wagon to their star, right?
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but they're not going to do it for us.
Right. So, I mean, but this is all work that we can do in parallel, and just to make sure that we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Tom, do you want to add?
Well, I reached out to Spectrum because I'm a mile and a quarter from one person and 2.25 miles from the next person. They said they would connect me for $115,000.
What a deal.
That is very generous of them.
We'll have to have a bake
I was
sale.
only 3,500 feet away. So if I was 3/4 or 6/10 of a mile away, they would connect me for free. So all I need to do is find somebody who's a half a mile closer to there and have them be convinced to get cable, and they would connect us both up. I think that's ludicrous. So, and again, the implementation is we're going to connect everyone on that road by 2041, I think is what they said.
2041.
2041. I can't wait 19 years for internet service. I can't even attend these meetings from my Goldsboro home because my hotspot is 1.3 download and 0.8 upload. Doesn't work.
Not enough for Zoom.
I'm in Hamden, so I can attend this meeting.
Yeah. Well, and like the survey data a little bit, I think it's almost a little bit perfunctory just to say that we did it. And I don't expect either Spectrum or Consolidated to come back and say, hey, yeah, we've got this great plan for you, especially if they're telling you they plan to connect everybody by 2041. That doesn't sound like we're up on their priority list.
I just wanted to see what the response would be, frankly.
Mhm.
Because I sit here at front row center of the complaint department about various things, and it's always the same thing. Everybody wants to complain and nobody wants to participate. So it makes it hard to feel sorry for them. The only reason that I am sticking to this is because it's a good investment for the town.
Right.
Going to help a lot of things from a development standpoint.
Absolutely.
And property values. If people are short-sighted, they don't see that this adds value to their property, or maybe they don't want to add value. Maybe that keeps the property tax down. I don't know.
Well, that's what they say, a rising tide lifts all boats or something like that.
Mm.
Internally, if your property taxes all go up by a proportional amount because you're adding, high-speed internet, nobody's going to notice a difference until they go to sell.
They will when they get the bill. It's endless. It's funny. They just complain all the time and they don't want to pay for anything
Well, some people aren't
or have
happy.
any skin in the game at all.
So,
But we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's not reality. So
what we're not looking for, we can specify that and how to contact us. And the other piece that I wanted to think about was a response window that we should say, how long do we want to give these companies to come back to us with a response? I don't
I
know
usually have a deadline on that RFI and RFP.
but I just wonder, when we're asking them, we want you to come up with a plan to offer internet to every single one of these addresses that we've identified in the town at this service level. I mean, they probably have to do some thinking about that, and they probably have to send some people out and do some research. And that's fine.
Or we do our research. That's why I'm saying I think that the mapping and the knowing who's where and what we have is critical.
Oh,
Because the
absolutely.
more that we can bring to the party that they don't have to do the legwork, the better response we're going to get, don't you think?
I agree, but knowing how the corporate mentality of these organizations is, even if we did everything but plug the last wire in for them, they'd say, no, we want to do it ourselves. And because that was the response they gave DBU when DBU offered, hey, we'll build the network, or we'll pay for the network, or things like that. We'll own it and let you use it. And they said, no, we got to do it ourselves. So, but in any case,
that was done. Now let's see. We'll give them a shot, and if they do the same thing, then we know, and we've done our due diligence. That's the definition of due diligence, is that you've given them the opportunity to make a statement or make an offer.
And Consolidated won't be able to do a thing unless they're going to put fiber in. So they would literally have to be running fiber to every location in the towns to make it work, because DSL just simply cannot do what we're asking them to do. And despite the promise of hybrid fiber cable that Bob keeps touting with Spectrum, I don't see Spectrum offering symmetrical speed anytime soon. Now they're upping their speeds to 300 megs in some places, but that doesn't do a lot for the download. Josh?
Right. So yeah, they'll have 300 download, but it might be 10 or 15 upload. So
Right.
fiber is definitely the superior product. Also, you factor in the latency on a coaxial network, it's a lot higher. So you have interruptions in Zoom and voice over IP phone calls and things like that, whereas fiber you don't. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where you just got to build it, and it's going to be definitely beneficial. It's the way to go.
So I guess my thought
If
is
you
on.
build it, they will come.
Exactly. Field of dreams. Yeah.
If you book them, they will come.
And, it's good to hear, the response rate for the survey is not what I would like to have seen. 8% isn't great, but it's probably also not bad in the scheme of survey response rates. But the number of people that said they would support a municipally owned utility gives me a lot of hope, and hopefully that's something that we can use to our advantage here. The people that want improvements think that that's a good option to explore. So my thought is maybe we can, and maybe it ends up being me, draft an RFI, and we can look at it and review it next meeting so that we could tweak it. And maybe by then we even have some ideas about the mapping. And on the mapping,
I'll work on that till I see you.
yeah,
I don't mind
just-
to do that at all.
well, just to make the mapping a little bit easier, I would say don't even worry about the interior as much. Just worry about the periphery.
Okay.
The little roads, those are the ones that we don't have good information on, because we know we're going to run down Pond Road. We know we're going to run down West Bay. We know we're
West
going to
Bay.
run down South Gouldsboro.
South Gouldsboro, right.
We know we're going to run down Gouldsboro Point.
Right.
So there's no reason to worry about mapping out those areas. It's
Right.
the little spurs off of that.
Right.
So that's, to me,
I'll look at my tax map and figure out what's where. That's probably the best way to figure out what you have, because if there's a tax bill, then you can determine if there's,
there's a building.
a building.
Yeah.
And you can tell what kind of building, if it's a camp or if it's a home,
Yeah, I mean, if it's 100 square feet, it's probably not going to need that much internet, but it might if it's the Clam Lab, for example.
Unabomber. Didn't Unabomber live in a little shack?
Yeah, I mean, right now I've got an RV on South Gouldsboro Road, and I'm not up there all the time, but I would love to have fiber up there.
So I feel like I did a whole lot of talking on this one, but that's those were the notes.
And I think I can figure out which are the private roads. I'll sit down with Jim. I'll take him to lunch or something.
Okay.
He'll help me.
Communication plans is next, unless anybody else had anything they wanted to talk about on those items. All right, communications, we need a little update that we want to draft for Ann today. I mean, we don't have to be formal if we just want to.
Yeah, it's for our newsletter to get the word out. First of all, we should admonish them for not doing the survey. Just kidding. I don't live in Gouldsboro, so.
Shame on you all. But
So what do we want to say? We probably have, a little paragraph. And also the Board of Selectmen want an update on what we've done from the beginning, which I think I can do a lot of that, but
yeah,
what do we want to have for the newsletter?
I think if we could take, a little bit of the survey results, so far we have roughly 8% response rate. And of the respondents, this many people feel that they are underserved, and, just
Not almost 100%.
the key takeaways there. And, that piece say that we're exploring possible connections to existing internet service providers and
DBU.
including DBU and or the
Are
possibility.
they out of Calais or Machias? What are they out of originally?
Calais and Baileyville are the two original towns.
Okay.
And I think they.
Calais. Just kidding.
Yes, if you were being particularly French and not down
French.
east of Calais.
Canada's right there. Just saying.
It's mostly English
Okay.
speaking Canada, but yeah.
It is British Columbia.
It's the wrong coast. But yeah, so I don't know. Does anybody have any other thoughts to put in a newsletter? We don't need to fill up an entire page, but do you think that'll get us by for the newsletter, Ann?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of room anyway. I have to
Yeah.
short and sweet and informative.
Short and sweet, like most people's attention span.
Exactly.
All right. Um, and I don't know that we have anything to go into Winter Harbor, but if you want to send a copy of that, whatever you're going to put in the Gouldsboro newsletter, we can send it over to Kathy and see
Yeah.
if she wants to include it there.
Good.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Other business?
Sorry, this is actually for the newsletter. I just was gonna say, if we're going to mention DBU, should we maybe include like a link to, I know it'll be printed, but information about how to get to their website so that people can learn more about it?
Yeah, we could definitely include the URL to it. That would be fine.
Is that somewhere in our stuff?
It's not in
Our
our stuff,
stack?
but it's just
I'll
like,
send it to you in chat.
there you go.
Okay. Or send it to my email.
So,
That'd be easier. Then I can compile it more quickly. I mean, I can get it myself too. I don't know why I'm acting helpless. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, does it even make sense to like create like a Facebook group or something like that for this, and then public could comment on it, can make
that's
suggestions.
not a bad idea.
I think someone should do that. I can't do it without a whole rigmarole of BS meetings and select board approvals, but any of you can.
Okay, I can look into that for the next meeting if that's okay with you guys.
Okay.
Sure.
Do
Yeah,
you, will you be able to work on it from where you are?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
okay. Well, that's good. Anything else? So I will reach back out to Dan and just ask him if any obstacles there are to us joining in with DBU at this level. And I will see, he probably has a good contact for somebody at Pioneer because they, I would want to get a sense of, design and just basic design, how they lay out the fiber runs and the way installation goes from them. And Josh is gonna look into Facebook. Rhiannon's gonna distribute the survey data, and
I'm going to talk to Jim about roads.
you're gonna talk to Jim about
Maps
roads.
of roads. Roads, maps, and houses, and tax maps.
And Rhiannon, you're pretty much wrapping it up this month, is it?
Yeah, I'm actually not officially your connectivity booster anymore as of yesterday, but I'm still interested in being involved. I just actually can't remember if I have anything going on Tuesday afternoons. So I'd like to make it to meetings, but we'll see what happens when I'm actually back in school and everything.
Yeah, well, let us know, and if possible, we'll make this Tuesday work, and if not, we can always reevaluate and look at other days that would work for people.
You can report to us from the modern world. Tell us what's happening.
From
The world of
Farmington, yeah.
With your fiber internet connection.
At least you'll have better internet over there than you do in Winter Harbor. So, all right, well, thank you, everybody, and we will, I guess, call it a meeting at 2:21.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.